welcome to True Heel Heat.
This is Timothy Barr from MLW. Make sure you give a listen to one of the greatest podcasts in the world, True Heel Heat.
Hey everybody, Tony Schiavone of All Elite Wrestling, and this is True Heel Heat. And I said it right, you motherfuckers.
All right, ready when you are.
Hey guys, I may have go away heat, but these guys have true heel heat. So you better listen to the podcast or else I'm gonna kick you in your fucking cock and balls.
I'll get it.
Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Heel Phenom, SP3. We are live on the True Heel Heat YouTube. Well, True Heel Heat Sports and Entertainment, excuse me. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter for our X-Men 97 episode 4 and 5 review discussing Motendo and Lifedeath Part 1, but more importantly, remember it, because we're going to remember you, Gambit. This is for you, Gambit. I am doing this today. I am joined by my esteemed colleagues and esteemed members of the Charles Xavier School for the Gifted Board of Directors. We have the true Jaw Josh joining us today, replacing his better half, Wendy. How are you doing, Josh?
Doing good. She's out for some family activities. I think it's I believe her nephew's birthday. So she's taking a day off for that. So I agreed to fill in for her.
We appreciate you. We want to hear your thoughts on the series on X-Men 97. But we are also joined by our number one Gambit fan, number one Rogue slanderer, number two, actually next to Wendy. It is the one they call Ness.
True Heels, what's the deal? Back again for another review of X-Men 97. Yeah, I'm gonna live up to my moniker. Gonna be some slandering, but as SP3 reminded me prior to us going live, Gambit really wouldn't want that. So I'm gonna try to be fair. I'm gonna keep the slander to a minimum. We'll make some points, but I'm gonna try to keep the slander to a minimum for my boy Gambit for his love.
You know, we're gonna say I'm gonna call him by his government a couple of times on this episode. Remy wouldn't want that. Remy wouldn't want you to do that.
Nah, he wouldn't.
Come on, man.
Loved her till his last breath.
Man, shout outs to Remy LeBeau. You know, he's probably looking down on us watching this review right now. But if you are watching it, we appreciate y'all for joining us. Remember to show that appreciation back the simplest way possible. Drop the thumbs up on this video. Share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you're new to the True Heel Heat YouTube channel or True Heel Heat Sports and Entertainment YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. But of course, if you're watching in the live chat, you can sound off if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. and let us know what you thought about this week's X-Men 97, what you thought about last week's Motendo and Lifedeath Part 1. We're going to be talking about both episodes on right here today. But yes, wanted to ask you, Josh, because we did the first couple of reviews. We did episode 1 and 2. We did episode 3 together. We're now back for episode 4 and 5, but this is your first time on our X-Men 97 reviews. What have you thought about the series so far?
It's been incredible. I've been glad that it's definitely past my expectations. I just thought they were gonna like fall heavy on the nostalgia and just throw like random stuff in there like that. That's originally how I felt they were gonna do, but the fact that they've kept on to a storyline, made it interesting, a bunch of fuckery. Yeah, it really kept me interested, and it makes me wonder. I'm like, damn, was this really a kid's cartoon show or something? Like, was this what I was watching back in the day? I don't remember none of this shit happening.
No, this is a little bit more mature than even what, because I did say when I rewatched the animated series before the series started that I was like, yeah, they did touch on a lot of topic, and there was a lot of symbolism in like the mutant struggle to like civil rights and racism and bigotry and homosexuality. So like there was a lot of references to that, but they made it in the form of the mutant coming out and stuff like that. It was coming out as a mutant. So there was a lot of that as a kid that you didn't even realize that they were talking about. But the soap opera on this one is strictly for the adults. It's so much for the adults. And I said it, Ness, on our last review. I was like, once they get the action with the drama, with the soap opera, we're going to have something epic. And that's what I think episode 5 was. But what's your overall thoughts, episode 4, episode 5, before we go through what went down?
Me?
Yeah.
So episode 4, I'm not gonna say it was there. It was all right. The Motendo, it was a nice callback from the original episode when Jubilee was locked and that went to the arcade, whatever. It's funny enough that they do it again with her. But I love the continuity, the continuing of that story. Just with basically this version of Jubilee in I forgot his name. What's his name? Roberto?
Mojo? Oh, Roberto.
Roberto. So with Roberto, because like he's the new face to the team, just like back in the day. Jubilee was a new face to the team, trying to get her to understand her powers and to get control of it and be accepting of who she is. And that's what they're doing with Roberto nowadays. So I mean, it was a nice little episode. But man, that episode 5, man, we talk about this emotional roller coaster that this series is going to take us on, and it literally had every emotion that you could think of elicit out of someone that watched this episode. I think that like the general consensus of the whole series at this point is everybody saying that episode 5 is the best episode of the series. And I can't really disagree with that whatsoever, because for certain parts, for specific reasons, again, because you got to remember, this is a remembrance of Gambit. I didn't like that at all. But yeah, like overall, it just got to the point where it's like, man, I feel like this about a cartoon. Watching, television shows, like live action shows, that's one thing, because you're seeing people, you're getting emotions from individuals, human beings. I feel this way over a cartoon. Like that says a lot, to me personally. So it really was a lot of emotion that came out of it. And I just hope that the rest of the season can ride that momentum and follow. Maybe not as much. Definitely, I don't need my heartstrings being tugged on. I don't need any more tears being potentially coming out of my tear ducts. I just need great storytelling, which they've been doing, and great action, great storytelling. Don't make me cry. Don't bring out the emotions anymore. Not as much as they did in this episode. I can't handle it. I can't.
So you cried as well.
Yeah, I was upset.
I wasn't ashamed to say, oh, I cried. Oh
Yeah,
my
I dropped
god,
the tear.
that
I dropped
shit
the
was
thug
like,
tear.
it was so much. Yeah, that was a thug tear. I was like, I'm gonna hold it in. I'm gonna hold it. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
My Mrs. X me.
Yeah.
What happened? I was like, so many people died.
Yeah,
Like,
man. Like, it was bad. It was bad.
they said, and then the showrunner said he wanted the first half to be like nostalgia and make everybody happy, and then he wanted the second half to be like post 9/11, and this was 9/11.
Yeah, so okay, I just want to say something about that. So that first half, I would not have expected everything that partook. Because I'm like, first of all, well, I don't even know if I want to get. I'll wait. I'll wait till we get it.
Yeah, we'll wait till we go through the episode with that. But yeah, sound off in the live chat. We love to interact with all of you. And this is not True Hill Heat Wrestling, so you don't even have to send a super chat. We're going to highlight as many comments as possible. So just sound off if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on Facebook, if you're watching us over on Twitter, sound off. Let us know what you thought about X-Men 97, Episode 4, Episode 5. We got Frantic World in the chat who says, "What's up, guys?" And chat, man, that last X-Men 97 episode was really sad. The Power Driver Finisher says, just finished rewatching it, and damn, he says, triple X-Men 90, triple X-Men 97. Very nice, very nice. We also got Frantic World who says, "Oh, the showrunner is wild for doing that to us." I mean, and it's very appropriate with like the first half of the episode 4 was like, it was, you needed that for the second half of like what's going on with Storm, because that's more of a long journey, it seems, with Storm. We're going to see what happens this coming week with Lifedeath Part 2, but let's go over what went down on episode 4, which was a 2-part episode with Motendo and Lifedeath Part 1. So Motendo, we had started off with Gambit made coffee with cream for Rogue, but Magneto made coffee for her first, and he knows how she likes it. He brings over 3 sugars with metal spoons, pouring it in. Gambit asks, he says, "Since you're taking orders," he was like, "I'll take a cappuccino." And Magneto says, "I don't take orders, I give them." Thankfully, I give them. He wants everyone to train in the danger room in case Sinister comes back. The blue Rogaine ad, as Wolverine coined Beast this week. He suggests that Jubilee deserves some jubilation on her 18th birthday, but Magneto says that she'll be able to celebrate a lot more birthdays if she learns to master her powers. Morph teases that Magneto didn't get a pony from his parents on his 16th birthday, but Magneto says that his parents perished before while he was a child.
Yeah, that was
which
fucked up.
shuts everything down in the room. I was like, nice callback to the beginning of First Class and the first X-Men movie.
Man.
Very nice. Jubilee comes in. She says, "Who has 2 thumbs and turns 18 today?" Or 2 thumbs with fireworks, and it turns 18 today. Everyone else is willing to join her. She wants to go to the arcade for her birthday, but Jubilee. We go into the next scene where she's in her bedroom with Sunspot, Roberto, and she explains that Magneto says, "The master of magnetism would not be caught dead in a bar of childish make-believe." That is an awesome way to describe an arcade, I will say. Yeah. I'm going to call it that. I'm going to call it that to my kids.
But you would get caught that day, though.
I am not a master of magnetism, so it's fine. He gets a tissy fit, so he shuts that down. She's complaining about that. She's complaining about the fact that Jean and Scott are not there. They're playing politics at the UN, but Sunspot says that Genosha becoming a part of the UN is a very important thing. Roberto interrupts her complaints to point out that she has a new video game and he didn't know that she played video games. But Jubilee doesn't recognize the Motendo console she now mysteriously has, but assumes that it might have been a mysterious surprise birthday gift from the X-Men, as they said, as Rogue says that they had surprises for her. Jubilee is so in on playing it, but Roberto is less interested. Anyway, they get the console, they get the controllers, and the console shoots out tentacles, and that entrances them. And basically, you see like the techno virus of wires go through their body, and it sends their minds into the video game. They wake up in a recreation of Jubilee's room. A sentinel rips open the roof and grabs Roberto, but Jubilee manages to fight back and free him. But now they've left the mansion and are somehow in a destroyed downtown area, much to their confusion. Then they're attacked by the Friends of Humanity and another Sentinel. Roberto refuses to use his powers because he says someone might see him. They find a ringing phone and Roberto answers it, which transports them away. And now they're in the Mutant Liberation Genosha, where Jubilee was enslaved back in season 1. They're attacked by guards, but they're taken off by what Jubilee calls a hot topic stalker, which is Apricissa. Jubilee tries to get closer, but bumps into a transparent wall. And the woman disappears. Jubilee figures out that they're in a video game, something that Mojo confirms when he pops up through a rift. He explains that they're in a video game based on Jubilee's own memories, and she's the star of this game. Apparently, Mojo says that he's struggling due to falling ratings, and he had surgery to become a skinny legend, but the ratings are flopping, so he's pivoting to video games. And he offers Jubilee a choice. She doesn't have to grow up. Instead, she can forever be young and live amongst her own nostalgia-filled memories forever. This is the X-Men, the Rise of Jubilee. I love the animation on this, which is straight out of the Nintendo and Sega video games for X-Men. What did you think about all the different designs and sets that we had seen at this point before we get into the full-on video game where they have the whole video game being shown to the Mojo planet? Either one. Ness, Josh?
No, I love the animation. I thought it was so dope that they put it I'm watching basically the game that I used to play as a little kid on my television now as an adult. That was one of if anything, major props to the production team for that, and the animators that came up with that idea. Whoever came up with that idea, that was a piece de how you say it? I can't speak French that well, but piece de resistance. There you go. That was a great part of adding into the story.
You pulled it off.
Yeah, I did. I had to get it together. Yeah, don't fuck it up. But yeah, it was great. I loved it. I really think that set this episode off, because it would have they could have made it just regular, cartoon version, whatever. But the fact that they made it into the video game format of the cartoon, that made it go up another level of making this episode so good.
I agree. What about you, Josh? I know you're an artist yourself. What did you think about the art and the animation on this episode?
I thought it was great because it's like Ness said, it did remind me of a lot of the old video games I used to play back in the day. That was the vibe it gave me. And then I also agree with that it made the episode more interesting that way. It just wasn't a cheap cop out or that you're in a video game and that we're just seeing the same animation. So for them to elevate that's what made the episode feel something from the episode.
Yeah. So they transform into a 1630-bit, 32-bit world where they first face off against Sentinels. The world and the enemies are bit, but Jubilee and Roberto look normal, except when they are through the screen from Mojo's audience perspective. As they find success in the game, Mojo becomes fat again. So it's going well. Stage 2, they're in the Savage Land. They beat up some dinosaurs. Jubilee sustains some serious damage, and her health bar nearly depletes completely. But the screen temporarily flashes to the Hot Topic Stalker. When we go back to the kids, Jubilee's health bar is at full, and much to her relief, she asks Sunspot how he did that. But it's Abacissa who is seen as a glitch and a bug. Spiral and Mojo are determined to squash her, though. Final stage is Asteroid M, and I think this is everyone is watching Roberto and Jubilee play, which makes them one of the world's earliest Let's Players, actually. So that's interesting. Roberto recognized that this place from the news, which he watched with his mom, and he reminds me of rejecting what he really is. Like he's trying to talk to his mom and tell her that all mutants are the bad ones and stuff like that, because he wants to distance himself from who he really is. And he talks about that and how he feels stupid for doing that now. But Jubilee is kind of just too concerned with living through her memories. Anyway, Roberto's still closet at the time, acted like he hated mutants, and saw the news and thought there were also good humans in the world, though he could tell she was spooked, but he reassured her by being basically racist to himself. Jubilee relates by complaining about Magneto making her train on her birthday. Roberto makes this funny aside glance at this, then reminds her that they should look for a way out. But Jubilee doesn't want to rush through her nostalgia trip. Roberto says that she has to grow up eventually. One can't live solely in nostalgia, and that sooner or later reality will smack you right in the foot, and he gets smacked in the face by one of Magneto's attacks as he's throwing giant balls of metal at Jubilee, as he's the final boss here. We get the boss battle between Jubilee and Magneto. Jubilee actually realizes that Sunspot is really hurt and he's injured, so she rushes and she realizes that she has to cycle through Magneto's pattern. She does that. She defeats Magneto. She looks after Roberto and realizes that her living through the nostalgia almost got him hurt, and she basically then mysteriously finds a health pack for him. So that worked out. She gives him the health pack. And Roberto shows off his language as he goes on a Portuguese rant after waking up. And they need to get out of there because Mojo could download himself in there at any second. But then Magneto reborns, and then Abacissa comes through like a hole in the roof and pulls them through, and it cuts off the feed for Mojo's audience. And Abacissa finally reveals herself, and she's an older Jubilee. She explains that they made replicas of Jubilee and Sunspot, and she's the only one that remains. And she's lived years and years through the nostalgia and gotten old here, and now is basically a protector. And she basically tells Jubilee that you can't just live through nostalgia, that you have to grow up eventually. Mojo downloads himself into the server and initiates the real boss battle here. He's now 5 times larger, 15 times fatter, and carrying probably like 5 pounds of crack or something like that. I don't know. He looked pretty heavy. He was packing some stuff there. Abacissa hard carries them with her sparkling roller skates, which shocks Jubilee. She's like, I didn't know I could do that. Firework energy disc she's throwing it at Mojo. Roberto finally uses his powers to turn his arm black and throw a fireball at Mojo. Jubilee and Abacissa combine powers and do a giant energy ball that Jubilee fires at Mojo, and he basically goes, and this scene it's hilarious. Just go out of your way to watch that scene of this whole thing, because it had me cracking up Each time I watch this, the music is fantastic. The animation is stellar. Each time I watched it, I popped for Jubilee because I was like, finally, Jubilee justice. This is what I've been waiting for. Put some respect on this woman's name. She graduated to the team. Y'all been keeping her on the sideline. She's finally 18. She's developing more powers. I want to see the evolution. Let's go. Mojo is defeated. The kids are sent back to their world. Mojo Council is fried up. Jubilee appreciates Roberto for taking a risk to help her. And then they kiss and fireworks go off and they lean down onto the bed together and it's over. I was like, oh, we're going to the good part. But Ness, what did you think? Overall thoughts are we'll start with Josh this time, actually. Overall thoughts on Motendo and kind of like what did you think about Jubilee's kind of character development in this, learning this lesson that you have to grow up eventually and you can't live through the past basically and things are going to change.
I mean, it was cool they finally like really did something with her because I always felt like, I don't know, but Jubilee is always one of those things where, you know, you feel like she's there, but then like everything else, you always forget. Like, you know, they never used her in the movies. They never did anything significant with her. So to feel like they finally did something with her
They never
now,
really did her in the movies for some reason. I never understand why. They did it a little bit in Apocalypse, but it was like barely.
Oh, they did. And then she had like I think it was like what do you call that? A scene. It was like you're looking at the DVDs, like the
Yeah.
It's like she was in one of those kind of scenes, but she was never showed her, never felt like she was important or significant. It's basically like she never existed in the movies. So for them to finally did something that basically mattered and within the region of like what she's about, that's what I liked about it. The whole aspect of seeing her future self, I thought that was cool because maybe that's gonna motivate her going on from the episodes. And then I mean everything else. I mean it was a fun. I mean it was a fun part of the episode. I mean the episode itself did feel like a filler, but I'm like, if you're gonna do a filler episode, at least do something that's entertaining, and I felt like it was entertaining.
Yeah, I like this part more than the second part, only because the second part is I don't know how to feel about it because it's the first part of something else. like it's so it's it's like I enjoyed this part. This felt like a complete story, so I enjoyed it for what it was, and I enjoyed Jubilee getting center stage for once. What about you, Ness?
Yeah, overall, I enjoyed the episode for what it was. I like the callback. Again, like I said before, with the original episode of Jubilee getting brought into the video game. Now she has a little bit more or a lot more experience with video games. It's like she's sharing that experience with Roberto just for her older self to be in the video game, and she's telling her older self is telling her like, you don't want to be here, you know, it's going to be the same thing over and over again. Go out there, live your life. So that's actually, you know, low key like a life lesson to people, you know, because here X-Men always with the life lessons about real life shit. It's like you don't want to be in the same mundane rut over and over and over again because you're not going to get anything worthwhile out of that. You know, go out there and try new things, do new things, you know, have a life that's worth living and not doing the same thing over and over again. So she definitely took that that notion and made it happen. But also for Mojo, I want to say this. It's funny. Now my thoughts on him was like that he got skinny reminds me of like all the comedians, all the fat comedians in Hollywood that when they lose weight, they're not as funny anymore for some reason. I don't know what it is. Maybe all the jokes and all their comedic prowess is in their weight. And then once they lose it, they're not funny no more because that seems to happen a lot, or not as funny as they used to be when they were fat. But
yeah,
that's what I got out of Mojo in this. He's like, damn, my ratings are going down. Yeah, because you're skinny. You know, you got you got lipo, and now you're not as good anymore. But then once the ratings went back up when he got fat again. So that was, overall, I enjoyed for the first half of the episode.
Yeah, Mojo's one of my favorite villains, because he's basically just a takeoff network executives. It's very funny. It's very funny to me.
Yeah.
On a kid, on
Fucking
what was
scandal.
primarily a kids show. We have next Life Death Part 1. So for Life Death Part 1, we start in Forge's ranch house. He's whipped up a candlelit dinner for him and Storm. Bishaman Chili. They chat about Forge's powers. They get on the topic of Forge's phonetics or photonics, and how he was able to make his leg and his arm after it was blown off. He said in a war. He explains that he lost his parts in the war, and Storm makes this all about her by saying how cool it is that he could fix himself, and how she misses flying. Forge says that they could go for a ride and kind of fulfill what she's been missing as far as like feeling the wind in her hair. So we cut to Storm, who's bouncing up and down while riding something. But she's only riding a horse. She's out in the but in reality, it's nothing scandalous. She and Forge are riding horses. Base Storm outtraces him and reaches the edge of a cliff because she closes her eyes. I don't know why she did that. Then she talks about the wind and weather and crap like that. And she talks about how there's an owl that's going in the same direction over and over again, and it's because of the wind and how the wind always goes in the same direction over here. And everything she says is very profound, and I listen to because it always seems very meaningful, even though it's 9 times out of 10 it's like folklore or something like that, or a poem. It sounds almost like a poem when she's just regular talking. That night, they return to Forge's house and discuss getting Storm's powers back. The trick to undoing Executioner's damage wasn't to make an inverted version of his weapon's radiation. It was creating a machine that could safely channel such power. Forge puts her in a tube and blasts her with some light. They go outside to test if the machine works. Unfortunately, it didn't. She says, "I am Storm, ruler of the country," and she just can't get it. She can't feel it the way she used to. She starts crying. Storm tries to confidently command the wind, but she just can't. She goes down to her knees. Forge tries to comfort her. Then we once again see that owl. Keynote on that. I just remember that. At a later time, we see Forge is still working on the machine. The Storm wonders why he's so determined to fix her. Forge is forced to admit that after the war, the Defense Department offered him resources to build things, and as he built them weapons to neutralize dangerous mutants, Storm is horrified to learn that it was Forge that created the gun that took away her powers. She's left in disbelief. She looks to a power negating collar on Forge's desk and asks if he made this, but Forge clarifies that particular device was made by a scientist in Scotland, and a lot of the devices that we see now are broad strokes of modifications of his inventions made by others long after he left the government. Storm is pissed that he trusted the government in the first place because it's the government. They're a mutant, like, should have known. Forge admits to keeping the truth from her, but only so she'd go along with him and he can help her. But it wasn't all a lie. Storm tries to head off, but Forge tries to throw some game on her. He says that he could live forever, but his creative mind would never come up with a creation as beautiful as Storm. He insists that she's a goddess, and powers or not, she needs to see that she's amazing. He says he'll let her go if she wants, but he wants to tell her one thing, that he loves her. She slaps him and she leaves. She says that you say that you want a goddess, but you're trying to forge a fool. And she walks away. That last line by Storm, I was like, go get him, girl. Go get him. Yeah, don't stand there. Next we see Storm is riding off on a horse, but glowing red eyes appear before her, and she falls off a cliff and into an abyss of shadows. She crash lands through Forge's roof and finds herself back in his house. Forge is pretty confused by it too, but the house magically repairs itself. Also, there's a demon owl now in the house, and it bites Forge's shoulder. It infects him with something because it just goes through his blood vein, it seems. Then now the demon owl, basically the same owl that was going around apparently, hugs Aurora. She says that she is the adversary, and I love the fact that I caught it immediately that the adversary's voice is Storm's voice. It's Storm's voice. It's Storm's voice, and she's keeping them trapped to feast on Storm's misery. So I did enjoy a lot of this episode, and I get where they're going with this because I did read the comic book of Lifedeath, and I like the whole journey that Storm has to go on to regain her powers. But like, I wanted more after this. It was a good cliffhanger because I did want more, so I'll give them that. Ness, what was your overall thoughts on the Lifedeath part of this?
Outside of the slap, because I found that to be kind of funny. I don't know. Like, I know this is a slow process. As far as Storm getting her powers back, it's going to take some time for them to fully get to that point. It being compared to the first half of the episode with the Motendo, it was like kind of dragged a little bit for me. Like, it's more so like soap opera at this point. I feel like it's like the love story between Forge and Storm, which I'm not really too familiar with, but it's still like at a point where it's just like, all right, let's get this over with. I want to get to Storm getting her powers back, or at least y'all like run into somebody for far as Forge, run into a big baddie to fight or something like that. But I also like the fact that that she did slap him because, like you said, you're a mutant and you gave patents or whatever to the government. They don't fuck with us. They don't like us. They want to kill us. They don't want us around. They want us dead. So, how did your work get into their hands, without your okay? So I would like for them to try to do a little bit more backstory on that, maybe go into that, whatever interactions that Forge might have had with the government. I would like more information on that. But this is kind of it's like a part of the episode for me. Hopefully that whatever's going to go next time, it gets kicked up a notch.
Yeah, it's like I'm starting to get my thoughts together because I'm going to do the next episode just off memory because I watched it twice and I think I took mental notes more than anything. It's like parts of that episode could have been in one of these two episodes to make them more interesting. Like if the X-Men are doing like an interview or at the X-Mansion, that could have been its own episode in this part, the second part. And then you could have done Lifedeath part 1 and 2 together. Josh, what was your overall thoughts on Lifedeath?
Definitely, I agree.
I thought it was okay. It was just, it got a little confusing, and then I was kind of lost, and I was like, oh, okay, I see where they're going with this. That's basically how I felt. But yeah, I mean, it was weird. The way that they had the first half, it was like more fun, more up, it was like more fun, more entertaining. This one, I wouldn't say it was entertaining, but it was like a mental gymnastics.
So that's what I was gonna ask to get him finish this up. What do y'all think? Do you think this is all in Storm's head? Do you think she's still in the machine? Because based on that ending, it made me feel like this is all in her head. Because the big note that I had for that episode was that I was like, the owl, the adversary, the voice is Storm. So is this all in her head? Like everything that happened from when she got into machine on is all in her head.
Yeah, I feel like it's all in her head. I feel like it's an illusion of sorts, and I think none of it that whatever is going on is not real.
What about you, Ness?
Well, since you put it that way, yeah, that does explain it. Maybe like the end of the next episode, they continue whatever they're going with until they reveal it. Go with that storyline, and then who knows? It's probably like Mr. Sinister, monitoring and got all this stuff that's going on, or whatever Big Bad. More than likely, it's Mr. Sinister. But yeah, I like your take on that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I was like, yo, why would they have her voice be the same one as the adversary? And the adversary, is this character that was involved in the Lifedeath comic book, but is also a kind of like a villain that comes back with the X-Men. So it'd be interesting. Yeah, it could be the Shadow King. That is also a true Power Driver finisher. We also got in the chat Mark 2251, who says, should have known something was up when there was an owl flying around during the day. 100%. Like, I've never seen an owl flying around during the day. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life.
That is true. That is true.
Speaking facts here. All right, folks. Let's wrap up this episode here. Motendo, Lifedeath Part 1. Let's put our thumbs in the middle for this episode. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle in 3, 2, 1. Thumbs up for me and Josh. Thumbs in the middle for Ness. Out of 10, Ness. Or thumbs up for Ness. Oh, okay.
No, I think it. No, I gave it up. I think my things had froze. Yeah, I think it froze. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, I gave it a 7. I think it was like a good episode. I like the Motendo part better, and I probably would have rated the whole thing a little higher. Just the second part was like a little slow for me. That kind of like brought it down as far as the overall episode. So I give it a 7.
Josh, what about you? Out of 10, what did you give the show?
I would say about 7. I want to say 7.5, because that first part was like really fun. I really did enjoy it. So probably 7.5.
Yeah, I would probably go like 8 for the Motendo part, and maybe like a 7, or maybe like a 6.5 for the Lifedeath part. So it rounds off to 7 out of 10. I'll go with 7 out of 10. Power Driver Finisher is giving it a 7 out of 10 as well. MVP, I'm gonna go MVP for the overall episode. Even though it's a 2-parter, I'm only gonna go 1 MVP. I'm gonna go Jubilee.
Same Jubilee. There's nobody else.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I could throw Storm a bone.
Jubilee.
I could throw Storm a bone, but I'm not gonna do that because we wasted enough time. We gotta talk about Remember It, episode 5 of X-Men 97. Remember It. Sound off in the chat. Like Power Driver Finisher, like Frantic World. Let us know what you thought about episode 4 in the chat, with your MVP awards. Oh, LVP for Lifedeath and Motendo. Mojo. For me. Josh, who's your LVP for episode?
LVP. That's a good one. What's this guy's name again? The one that was helping the government. I'll give him LVP.
Forge.
Forge.
He tried to throw on that good riz. He's trying to dig down Storm, yo.
That was like, damn, bro. It was your
after the fact.
You lost the powers and you're trying to hook up with her. Like, fuck is wrong with you?
He was like, you can't summon some water, but I'll make you wet somewhere. Forge was trying to forge it. He was saying, I'm gonna forge it.
Oh my god.
And she was like, get the fuck out of here. You You nasty metal dick nigga.
Yo. oh, oh my god. Yeah.
Oh man.
Meanwhile, Jubilee and Sunspot is smashing. He giving her that fire dick, and she got fireworks going on. Like, which
Yeah.
great stuff, man. Like, what we do this whole show. He's right. Power Driver Finisher, X-Men. But speaking of which, we got Remember It. So how I broke this down in my memory is that this episode is in two parts. We got everything that went down with the X-Men being interviewed at the X-Mansion, and Cyclops and Jean Grey and Madeline Pryor and Wolverine. And then we got everything that happened in Genosha. So what part? We'll do it. We'll do an on-air live survey. Josh, Ness, what part are we going to talk about first? Well, y'all decide. Josh, what do you want to talk about first? Genosha or the X-Men being interviewed?
Let's talk about the interview first. Just get that shit out of the way.
Ness, you agree?
Yeah.
All right. So we start off the episode. We start off this episode.
Yeah, definitely the interview first. Yeah, interview first.
Yeah, we start off the episode with the X-Men being interviewed at the X-Mansion. I think it's Trish Dilly is the newscaster, and that's actually the name of someone who was a love interest of Beast in the comic book. So it was very nice that Beast got all dressed up and nice for her because he has a crush on her. So Beast talks about she compliments him on being a scientist, a well-renowned scientist and stuff. After Beast talks about how she's a great journalist, and he blushes and he says, "Yes, blue does blush, my dear." And then they break down everything that's going on with the X-Men. It was like it's different people from different walks of life who have come together under the school. And then we see different things going on throughout the house, like Cyclops and Jean Grey. They seem that they are very distant, even from the kind of the pan shot that the newscaster did. Then you get Scott is being interviewed. He's got like glasses that are blinding them when they tried to shoot him. When he sits down, he's not able to not able to speak, or they can't get it right or whatever. So we see that that's not going well. And then we shoot to Jean Grey, who's basically trying to avoid all of this and still trying to get her memories in track. And she's looking at different memories, and it's different pictures of the old animated series as well as the comic books. And Wolverine comes and finds her and asks her, like, "Oh, you are also trying to avoid the interviewers?" And she says yes. She's also trying to sort through her memories. And he tries to help her out, and she's talking about the same thing that Scott is actually talking about, because Scott is asked when did he know that he fell in love with Jean, and he goes back to when she had just been kind of taken by the Phoenix Force, and how she was very nervous that he didn't trust her afterwards, so they went out. And Scott says the same thing, that he wanted to reassure her that nothing had changed. And they're kind of telling the same story, but not to each other. Jean is telling it to Wolverine, while Scott is telling it to Trish Dilly. But Jean and Wolverine kind of have a moment where Wolverine says, like, you can't drown into your memories or you'll be lost in them. And you can't live in the past. You have to kind of move forward. You could try to remember everything you can, but it's going to be a tough process. And they kind of have a moment where Jean kisses Logan, but Logan is the best person ever, and tells her that, she was like, you're Jean Grey and he's Scott Summers. Those are the rules. He was like, you just forgot for a second. Now go talk to that overgrown Boy Scout. So what did y'all think about this moment? Because I think that a lot of people, I'm glad that we're talking about this first, because a lot of people will forget from everything that happened in the episode that this was a big deal. God damn it. Why can't Logan ever be happy? There are freaking 2 G's.
I don't know. I think Logan likes being miserable. I guess.
About that, yeah.
You know what? But this
That's
proves
basically
that
his
Gene,
life. His life is just full of misery. Like that's
but this proves that Gene has feelings for Logan. So, I mean, I don't know if Logan wanted to know that, but everybody, if you read the comic books, if you watch the
it
movies,
just
you watch
sucks
the
though.
show, they think that. Go ahead, Ness. I'm sorry.
No. It was boy, my Wi-Fi is messed up if I'm going in and out. That's why. It sucks that he finally gets, some type of reciprocation in his feelings from Gene, just to be like, damn, I gotta come back to reality. You belong to Scott, not belong, but like Gene's with Scott, Scott's with Gene. That's the rules. That's how it goes. And I'm like you said, it's two Genes. Like me personally, I'm like, yeah, you don't need Scott. He got Madeline prior, whatever the other Gene. They had a baby. He did. You could be with me now. Like, you don't want to be with that guy. You love me.
It's like,
That's
who
not what
brought
happened.
back your
No,
memories,
it didn't
darling?
happen that way. But yeah, like, oh damn, like it would have been great if you just forgot about him, but and actually, I think that carries over from was it episode 3 when Gene is like trying to remember everything, and Logan's like, she's like, "Oh, you care for me that much?" So that might have carried over to this episode where she's like, "Man, this guy like really cares for me." I don't know where I stand with Scott because like it wasn't me, it was my clone that he built a relationship, went on to have a child with, unbeknownst to him, he doesn't know that. Like he think it's Gene, so maybe she at the moment she was just feeling vulnerable and was just trying to, as much as her memory was coming back, the one main thing that she knew that it wasn't anything that she needed to question was the fact that how Logan felt for her. So I think that's probably why she went in and kissed him. And unfortunately for Logan, it might have been great for him, but he still got to, like you say, got to face reality, saying that we really can't have anything because you're supposed to be with him, and I can't do anything about that. And that's kind of commendable on Logan's part because, like I said, if that was me, I would took advantage of that shit. And we already know how much he already has disdain for Scott because of Gene, right? Go be with who you're supposed to be with.
Yeah, I respect Logan for making that decision or saying that for now. But meanwhile, Scott is being interviewed by Trish Dilly, and he is not doing very well. Trish Dilly asks him about kind of more about him and Gene's relationship and about their child. And she says that he says, "Oh, I didn't have a child," and she says that, well, there was a doctor at the hospital that said that they were gonna deliver your child, and he was like, "Yeah, they turned me down." He was like, "That basically racist wouldn't deliver my baby," and he was like, "Scott, we're trying to give you the opportunity to open up to the people, show them who you really are. Why would you lie?" He was like, "Because you're normal. You're just normal people. You wouldn't understand us. You wouldn't understand what we do for you, the things that we go through, the struggles that we go through, and that we are different from all of you. We've had to fight zombie apocalypse and mutants and machines, and all of you guys are not grateful for it." And he says that you guys should be grateful for the fact that we're not like you, because you would all be dead if we weren't. Man, this was like Scott Summers' villain origin story. Ness, what did you think about Scott's speech here?
I loved it. I fucking loved it. I'm not even going to try to downplay anything because everything he said was straight facts. The fact that he tried to dwell away from, having the baby, which I didn't like that at first, but then he was doing them a favor because, yeah, I'm a mutant and you guys are trying to quote unquote understand me. But here's the thing that you need to understand. You people, regular humans don't understand us, and that scares you, and you treat us differently. So for him to, try to say that, I didn't have a baby, and then I felt like the interviewer was just basically like poking and prodding, like, oh, we're trying to give you the floor. We're trying to give you a chance for people to understand you. Why would you lie? Like, yeah, I lied to save your fucking ass because you people aren't good to us. Like, you guys aren't nice to us. You treat us like shit. We're here because, like, you're here now because we're fucking out here fighting all these people, saving the day, risking our lives for you assholes that aren't appreciative of this whatsoever. And then he just starts going, and he was going off, and he had every right to go off. I felt he had every right to go off because, again, they oh, what the hell? Get out of here. Every right to go off because those people like being so unappreciative, and he was trying to save him, say like, look, the reason why I lied is because a human wouldn't deliver my mutant baby. So how does that make, like, that reflects back bad on all the humans in the world, So like, I felt everything he said, he had 100% right to say it because it was all facts. It was all true.
He said it with his chest.
So I'm going in and out. I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi. It's just acting goofy.
If you wanna restart it, it's fine. You can come back in.
Yeah, let me try that.
If it helps out, if it helps.
Yeah, I'll try that.
Continuing on, finishing up with everything in the house.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that.
Finishing up with everything in what happened in the house after Scott's interview and that whole big blow up. He goes upstairs and he's kind of recovering from all that when Gene comes in, or so I guess. No. Let's be real. He knew it was Madeline Pryor. I knew it was Madeline Pryor. You know how I know it's Madeline Pryor now, Judge? Madeline Pryor has her hair down. Jean Grey has her hair up. So that's how I knew that Scott knew that was Madeline and not Jean. Jean has her hair in a ponytail all the time. And Madeline has her hair down. It's pretty simple how you recognize Madeline Pryor from Jean Grey. So Madeline comes in to try to comfort him. They're having a meeting on the astral plane in each other's minds. And he says that, he asked him about the baby and I just blew up. And he was like, I know you've been thinking about him a lot. And he was like, you just have to kind of, let things go. And he says some things are not worth letting go, and they hold each other's hands. And he says that he thinks about him all the time. And he thinks about, when he's up here, he thinks about his big brown eyes. And they have a moment where they connect and they kiss each other. And then in comes Jean Grey because she realizes that they're having a meeting on the astral plane, in their minds. They're about to mind fuck. If she didn't come when she came, they would have mind fucked. I am telling y'all, Madeline Pryor and Cyclops have been mind fucking for a month apparently, because Jean asks him, how long has this been going on? He says, for about a month now. I asked her how she was doing, and we kept going, kept talking to each other. And the cameras are catching all of this because they've come downstairs. They're catching all this great juicy drama. They have a whole big blow up with one another because Jean is upset that they ripped out a piece of her, and now Scott is in love with it because Scott admits that he's in love with both Madeline and Jean because Madeline had his child, and they don't know how long they've been together, but they have this connection. And I'm just like, wow, Both of y'all just need to get away from each other. This is a toxic fucking relationship. Both of y'all are cheating on each other. This man's mind fucking. You're kissing Wolverine. What is going on here? And then they're having a whole argument. And then Jean gets hit with a vision in the head. And that will lead us to what happened in Genosha. What did you think about everything that went down in the X-Mansion with the interview and Cyclops' big blow up, as well as him about to mind fuck Madeline Pryor on the astral plane?
I don't know, man. It was pretty entertaining stuff. I mean, yeah, when I was like, I didn't know this was a cartoon for kids. Definitely know now it's made for adults. But some great stuff, because I mean it just shows you the fucking mental mind fuck that Scott's going through, because he was legit with one woman and then now he doesn't know what to do because he thought he was with the same person, but then it turned out to be another. So now they're both there. So it's like, what the fuck? Like, what's he supposed to do?
He was like, I'm in love with you, babe. I'm in love with you. I think it's you. I see you.
I think he said he loved both, so I don't know.
He's fully acknowledged that he's in love with two women. Just give Wolverine one. Stop being greedy, Scott.
He's in love with two women that that basically are the same person. Well, not the same, but they look the fucking same.
He's in love with identical twins, basically.
That's basically what it is.
Steve Wilkos show. We got Jerry. We got Maury Povich episode. Yes, it was some good stuff. And that's before we even get to Genosha. That's why I was like, all right, we got to separate this, because this deserves some attention and some love, because there was a lot of drama and juicy stuff. That was a nice follow-up from what went down in episode 3 with Madeline Pryor kind of emerging as the Goblin Queen and having a heel turn and babyface turn in one episode. It's
crazy.
It was crazy what X-Men 97 is doing right now. All right, now we move over to Genosha, because the whole reason that the X-Men are getting interviewed is that Genosha is becoming a UN nation. And to do that, we have the team of Magneto, Gambit, and Rogue are heading over to Genosha to kind of have an honorary ceremony and to be part of the I guess the Hellfire Gala, I believe that is, because that was on the newspaper on episode 1. So they're there for that. They come over in the spaceship. We have a little council where Magneto makes a little shot at Gambit that if the airplane was ever to go down, he's the only one that doesn't have the capabilities of flying, so he should shut up about the travel. They head over to Genosha, and it's totally reformed. It looks very nice. It's kind of like a city place where it has a lot of shops and markets now. They have X-Men being welcomed with a big welcome X-Men sign, as well as a Magneto was right sign. We see the statues of Magneto and Professor X as well. When they land, they are greeted by Madeline Pryor, who is now part of the Genosha UN and helping out over there as far as integrating them in the United Nations. And we also have Dr. Cooper, who said it? Who said it first, y'all? Who said it first? I said it on episode 1. Who Dr. Cooper was, who the councilman was, who she was. I told y'all Cooper is Mystique. And we get confirmation in this episode that it's Mystique. But continuing on, they are greeted by none other than Nightcrawler is there. And he pops up. He's very happy to see Rogue and Magneto. Rogue and Gambit, because they were the ones that saved him in his first episode on the animated series, helped him from his church that was being attacked. So he's very happy to see them, and he's their tour guide for Genosha. He takes them into the city where he shows them all the shops and market and how the X-Men have helped Genosha become reformed. Gambit is the only one that notices some stuff that is a little interesting going on in the city, like $10 apples. He was like, I think that Gambit just knows a hustle when he sees one because he used to be a thief. So Rogue is very happy because he says that it's just like he described it would be, and we would learn that she was talking about Magneto, but Gambit assumes that she's talking about Professor X. They go into the city where Dazzler is doing a performance in the city, and Rogue is very happy and watching on. She's greeted by Bam Bam. I know only Bam Bam, not even from the comic book, because I know that from X-Men Evolution. Or Boom Boom, excuse me. Boom Boom is there. Boom Boom is there, and she greets Rogue, and they're hanging out as they listen to the concert by Dazzler. And Gambit is in the back with Nightcrawler, and Nightcrawler is just like, when are you going to marry her? And he was like, everyone can see, how y'all look at each other, that y'all are in love with one another, and that your souls touch with every gaze. And he says, that is not the touch she is looking for, my friend. And that is the reason that they are not together. But Nightcrawler says, you Americans, I think he said, are so theatric. It must be the soap operas. But he was like, you need to live and you need to go for the moment and be with her, basically. What did you think about that little talk and about the episode so far with Genosha reformed, but we see the interesting stuff like the $10 apples?
Oh no, it was cool. It was getting interesting to see like the leaps that leap, like the stuff they were doing to try to become like a real thing. And I don't know, that prep talk was pretty funny because I mean, if anybody that needed it, it was that moment.
It was definitely Gambit. Gambit needed that pep talk because shit was about to hit the fan, folks. It was about to hit the fan for our good old Gambit here. So we go to Magneto, who was greeted off by Cooper and the Genosha UN committee, which is basically the Hellfire Club, because we got Sebastian Shaw, who was the villain in the X-Men First Class. He was also the leader of the Hellfire Club in the animated series, and his wife, the White Queen herself, Emma Frost, is there. She's a telepath as well. And Sebastian Shaw is also a very powerful mutant. We also have on the committee is also Margaret McTaggart, and Madeline Pryor is also there, a part of the committee. Am I missing anyone from the committee? I feel like I'm missing somebody.
I'm trying to remember myself, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's the most important people. It was Cooper, Sebastian Shaw, Emma Frost, Madeline Pryor was all there. And they basically proposed to Magneto that they want him to be the Chancellor, the new king of Genosha. And they say that they want him to be the Chancellor, and he says he doesn't really kind of like the idea or doesn't seem all too keen on it. But they say that the perfect person for this idea was Professor X. But if Professor X would put you in charge of the X-Men, that he would put you in charge of this. And he gives a big speech about how he met Charles in Germany, and he told them about his dream for mutants and humans to coexist, and he thought that it would never be possible. He thought that they would be basically seeing out a dream that they would never see exist, but here they are on the precipice of that. And Madeline Pryor says that she's not Jean Grey, but she knows what Jean Grey would say in this situation, and she knows what Professor X would say in this situation. Dream bigger. He says that he accepts this, but on one condition. We go to the next scene, and that one condition is that he wants Rogue to be his queen and lead with him. Rogue is not too keen on this, but Magneto explains that they need someone who is an empathetic leader, and how about the person who can feel everyone's emotions and kill somebody just by touching them. And Rogue understands about what it means for Genosha to have this type of leadership, and that having an X-Men there does help out a lot. And that Magneto says that this is Professor X dream, and he's trying to live it out, and he needs her to do that. And she knows that this is all part of a ploy because he's in love with her. He wants to be with her. He wants to smash some Rogue cheeks. And he says that he will not lie. He does fancy her, and he says that Rogue, you have the ability to make a broken man feel whole, just like Gambit. So he does have those same feelings for her, but he says that he also believes that she could lead. So let us have you lead. Made that separate. Have you and lead. Next scene, we see Gambit is getting ready for the gala. He's all dressed up. No hat, no skull cap on. He's all fetted up. He got the hair all out, looking siffy. He's got a whole white suit on because he's about to shed some tears. Because Rogue comes and visits him, and we finally get an adult conversation between Rogue. This is the most adult conversation I've ever heard on an animated series, I think, outside of like a South Park. But like adult conversation between Rogue and Gambit, where they talk about their relationship and the fact that Rogue has never wanted to make it official because she can't touch him. And she talks about how everything that Gambit touches, he can light up, except for me, Remy. And oh my God, that one line, I was like, damn, that would break a man's heart. This woman, she goes over her history with Magneto, and she explains the past, what happened between them, talking about when she had powers with her mother, and she was a part of I think it was like a pre-X-Force, and she took him to an older man that knew everything about powers and could help him. And she says that he was supposed to help her, but not in a way that he actually did. And he basically taught her about mutants and showed her mutant art and told her what mutants could achieve and how mutants could have their own place to kind of live amongst themselves and be happy and be safe. And that's what Genosha is now. And she says that one day they realized that because of his magnetism and his powers, they were able to touch each other. So they started doing some other things. I'm like, dear, this man has full-on long gray hair. You are introduced to him by your mother. Dear, this is an inappropriate underage relationship. What are we doing? But anywho, continuing on with the story, she was able to feel, and saw that he had a lot of pain, and she couldn't live, with her pain and his as well. So she had to leave him and go away. And when they saw each other, when she joined the X-Men, he basically acted like he didn't exist. He didn't want to take another family away from her. And Gambit, talks about how she's never wanted to make it official, but their love for each other. But she says like they can't touch. She's like, they can't touch, so it's not the same. And he says that some things are more than skin deep. And she says that we can't be together because we can't touch. So he says that, all right, so we just have to be friends. And he kisses her hand, and he says that, I bet that he's gonna break your heart. And she says that, oh, Gambit always knows the odds. He was like, no. He was like, I don't want to be right on this one, but he was like, I'm just gonna be friends with you for now. And he, mon ami, kisses her on the hand and walks away. What a scene. This is straight out of the soap operas. What did you think about this scene, Ness? Welcome back. Oh, he still has.
Yeah, I hope that my Wi-Fi is being cooperative now. It's okay.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Hold on, let me try. Hopefully this works. It hurt a little bit. It hurt me that Rogue. I mean, I got to give her props for being honest. He can't touch her physically, emotionally, Like they just can't have a real relationship without the physical touch that she can have with Magneto. You know, even though he does come off like a groomer, I feel like he was grooming her.
Yes.
But that's a whole other conversation. That's yeah, Magneto got a little like grooming vibes because if a parent is bringing someone to you and you end up having a fucking relationship with the individual's child, you know, that's kind of it's kind of fucked up. But and all in all, it comes down, you know, Remy. Again, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if he can physically touch Rogue or not. He's still gonna love her. And none of that really bothered him. I mean, it bothered him that she was like, "I can't have a relationship with you. We can't do anything." You know, he'll die. He would die, literally, physically die at her touch, and he would not be upset. He would not second guess it. He would want it to happen. So, I mean, I wish there was a way that they could have that happen, but you know, in the reality of things, they really can't have that type of relationship. Again, but Magneto just comes off like, I don't want to say a pedophile because I want to think she was like somewhat of an adult in that at that time frame, but he definitely comes off like a groomer, and that's not cool. It's not okay.
You Hefner in the face.
Hopefully,
ass
some of
nigga.
that got out.
Why
If
was
I'm
he
still
in
choppy,
a
I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi.
full-on bathrobe while having dinner with Rogue? This man's in a full-on bathrobe, nipples out, chest all out. We eating dinner, sir. Did you take a bath first, at least? I'm eating food. What are we doing? Josh, any comments on Rogue's explanation to Gambit and the serious conversation they had?
I mean, guess she finally honest, like, right? That's the only thing you really ask for because she was being sneaky as fuck. I think that's what made it worse, was that she was being sneaky about it. You know, like all that shit was going on. I mean, like, you know, I think that was the fucked up part to me because it was just like, damn, like you legit like with this man, knowing how this dude feels about you, and this is what you're doing. I mean, yeah, she was honest, but then it was like you're still doing sneaky shit behind his back. And I mean, he took it. I mean, he took it great. You know, like what she said was you know, it's true. He can't touch her. So I mean, what he's gonna argue about that with? So I mean, he took it well. That's all you can really say to that.
Yeah, he said he still loves her. He still wanted to be with her. I love the symbolism with him like flicking the cards off, and then when she answered his question, like he held up the card, the Queen of Hearts. He held up the card, and he was like, "Are you gonna take him up on his offer?" And when she says, like, when she answers basically yes, he throws it into the fire. That was a great shot. That was a great scene.
Yeah, I remember that part too. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was very good. Then we go to the gala where Magneto shows up. He meets up with Sebastian Shaw as well as Emma Frost. Cooper comes over and asks about the fact that they're choosing Magneto to be their leader. And she doesn't think that is the best idea. Oh, I think it was Callisto was a part of the committee. Callisto from the Morlocks. I think it was Callisto from the Warlocks was a part of the board, I think.
Oh, all right.
I think so. But yeah, Cooper comes over and asks, why would this UN nation is choosing a terrorist to be their leader? And he was like, but so many of your nations have their presidents or leaders wound up being terrorists. I love Magneto. Magneto is a goat with his responses and his wit.
Yeah, it's true.
At this point, Rogue flies in We do have a moment by the bar where Gambit is over there drinking, and Madeline Pryor comes over and gives him a drink, offers him a drink, and is looking at him very seductively. She says that he's looking very good tonight, Cajun, and he's looking over at Magneto, who's talking to the Hellfire Gala when Cooper comes over, and then Rogue shows up, flying into the room, catching everybody's attention. She meets in the dance floor with Magneto, and they fly up to the ball, and they got the song playing, "Living in a imagination." And they're like dancing. This whole dance sequence, I'm like, yo, this shit is straight out of a Marvel movie. This is what they would do in a Marvel movie, or this is not an animated series anymore. This is straight soap opera or a movie at this point. Gambit is watching, and as soon as Rogue and Magneto's hands touch, he's out of there. He's leaving the place. Madeline watches on as they're flying around. They're dancing all seductively. They're touching each other. And finally, Rogue looks at him, and they kiss each other. They share a passionate kiss, which shocks everyone in the room as a show of power between the potential king and queen of Genosha. And Rogue then breaks the kiss and tells Magneto that Remy was right, that some things are more than skin deep, and she rejects Magneto's offer, and she wants to be with Remy. Unfortunately, she never got to tell him that. Because what happened next was Madeline Pryor is at the bar, and she gets hit with that same vision. Remember, this is why you got to remember the things I bring up. Remember that vision that hit Jean Grey? It also hit Madeline Pryor. She starts bleeding from the nose, and the blood drop. You see, I've seen her blood drop. She's looking at her hand with the blood. She rushes out to the basically like a balcony area. At the same time, the music that was playing in the original vision from episode 1, when she read Guybrush Mind, and when she was hit with the vision with all the monster sentinels and all the bodies and graves there. Now she had a similar vision, but this time it's with like rats and stuff like that. And we see Cable coming, and he's finally arrived, and he's like, shut the music off. He's coming. He jumps onto the balcony where Madeline Pryor is at. Madeline recognizes him from her gene memories and says it's Cable. But then when Cable comes close, she looks at him, and she remembers what Scott says, the big brown eyes. And she looks at his eyes, and she connects with him, and she's like, you made it. You made it. You're actually safe. And he looks at her, and he says, it's too late. His thing triggers off. His basically time machine device triggers off. And he says just so sad words of, I'm sorry, Mom. And he fades away, and she says, sorry for what? And we see a big flash of green. When Cable was running up, we saw a big flash of green, but because the music is on, nobody can hear that the bomb or a Sentinel bomb had already went off somewhere else in Genosha. So they're now coming to the gala. As soon as Cable disappears, we see a big green explosion, totally takes out the whole entire gala, takes out everyone in the surrounding area. As we come back to where we see Rogue is underneath one of like the things, she pushes it off. Magneto busts out of some other place. They get a monster like Sentinel is now there, like a 3-headed Sentinel, and he's shooting at people. Cooper is trying to clear people out. We get Magneto is trying to fight people off. We get a big Sentinel is about to shoot Magneto and Rogue when Nightcrawler shows up. He pulls them out. He vanishes. He gets hit by the blast. And then when we come back into where the gala was, we see that Shaw is down. We see Margaret McTaggart is also down. We see Callisto. We see the life leave her eyes. That was like the way they shot that. I was like, oh shit, they going morbid at this point. They come back. We see that Gambit is back, and he says that so many have been basically destroyed, and he said it's like King Kong Sentinel, some Godzilla type Sentinel that's been destroying everything. He says that the Morlocks are trapped underneath some debris and they're trapped underneath the city. And he basically says that he made a promise and he has to save them. So he tells Rogue and Gambit to Rogue to clear the way for Gambit to save the Morlocks. And he says that we will not perish without trying to save as many people as possible. So he's fighting off Sentinels. He's trying to save people, as well. Then we see Rogue and Gambit are flying through. Gambit on the motorcycle, Rogue flying through as they're fighting off Sentinel. He's blasting things, touching things, and blasting them off while Rogue is fighting, kicking off a Sentinel and ripping his head off and stuff. They're, man, they make a great team. They're my favorite couple. Gambit shows up on a fucking Sentinel head and saves the Morlocks, saves the day for the Morlocks. Magneto, meanwhile, is fighting off the three-headed Sentinel. He saves Cooper, who looked kind of worried. A note on Cooper, the part of the episode that I was noting before about pinpointing us that Cooper is Mystique. When they talk about Magneto becoming king of Genosha at the gala, did you peep when they let her know that Rogue is gonna be, he asked Rogue to be his leader, to be his queen with them, and she says, Rogue, what did she say? Why would Cooper be so concerned about Rogue particularly, unless it's Mystique, her mother?
Yeah. I noticed that too.
I was like, thank you. I was like, that's confirmation. I knew it. But going back to this, so we get Magneto is fighting off the Sentinel at the same time. We get the Warlocks. We get Leech was always believing in Magneto, but I'm thinking Leech is like hugging Magneto. Isn't he draining his power?
Is he? Was he?
That's his whole power. That's his whole power. His power is that he drains the powers from mutants. But Magneto was able. I know Magneto was a mega level threat, so we saw that when they were like the Sentinel was like mega level threat. So he's fighting off Sentinels. He's all bloody and stuff. He's almost being beaten down. The three-headed Sentinels trying to targets him. He's trying to fight it off, and he has like a whole bubble where he's fighting off and trying to protect the Morlocks. He has a dramatic scene where we get Rogue is going to try to fight the Sentinel and try to fight it off, but Magneto kind of stops her after Gambit tries to stop her, and he traps them under a metal and makes a protective metal shield for them. But they're still able to watch as the blast is too much for Magneto to hold off. He looks at Leech and he says in German, "Do not be afraid." And the blast takes him away. Rogue busts out the protective shield. She starts crying. She's bawling, crying. She starts to go after the three-headed Sentinel. The three-headed Sentinel realizes she's coming after her and turns to her. He's about to blast her, but Gambit realizes. He lights up his motorcycle. He pushes her out the way so the blast avoids her. And then the Sentinel then moves on to like Nightcrawler and other mutants that are down in Genosha, and he's about to blast them when Gambit's like, nah, B, I'm about to put on the boost. He starts, he's got the light stick. He starts going through Rebel as he's like destroying the city grounds. He leaps up and he's about to stab him with the stick. He says, the cards are always in my favor, when the Sentinel takes out a technical and just stabs him with it. And just the scene, the look on his face when he's like, and I was like, no. I was like, it was like series of no. I was like, no. I was like, they did that to Magneto. I was like, no. Oh, shit. Did they just take out Magneto? I was like, nah, they can't kill Magneto. They can't kill Magneto. He'll be fine. But when they did that to Gambit, I was like, no. I was like, I never heard no story about Gambit coming back. What? What's going on? So they pull him and they said mutant basically neutralized. And Gambit says, the name's Gambit. Remember it. And he lights up the technical, which lights up the entire three-headed Sentinel, and he blows it up. basically sacrificing himself to save the rest of the mutants that were left in Genosha. We go back to the X Mansion where they're seeing the aftermath, where it's just like a scene and a picture of burnt rubble throughout Genosha. Scott asks, how many? And he says, and Beast responds, too many. We see the emotional look of the mutants at the X Mansion. And then the most emotional scene of this whole entire episode is when we go back to Genosha and all we hear is Rogue crying. And then we go back to the area where the Sentinel was exploded, and it's in a hole in the ground, and Rogue is holding a dead Gambit, finally, with no gloves this time, because when Nightcrawler was hit with the blast, she couldn't help him because she had no gloves on, but she's holding Gambit, finally able to touch him. And she says the dramatic words as you see tears pouring down to the dead face of Gambit. I can't feel you. Oh my God. I was in tears. What did you think about everything that went down with this closing stretch, the battle of Genosha here, and the genocide of Genosha, basically?
That was crazy. Everything happened so fast, to be honest with you. Like, they just showed Cable, and then all of a sudden it went from Cable to like trying to warn them, and then all of a sudden, boom, like everything just like it felt like it was rapid. But then the action was great. Like, the action scenes were great. A bunch of layers.
By the way, I did catch that when they do the gala shot before the fireworks go off, before they go inside the gala, the Watcher is in the sky, which could be an indication that this is in fact a part of the MCU.
Oh shit, it could be. Oh shit, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I gotta watch that again. You see, now it's making me want to watch it.
I watched it twice because somebody told me that, and I was like, oh, I gotta watch it. And then I peeped it. I was like, oh, yep, there's my homie.
What scene?
Basically right after the Gambit Rogue scene when they go to the gala.
All right, I gotta see that because I did hear a few like fillers saying like that apparently this version of X is going to be connected to the MCU. That's what I was hearing. Like that's like their goal, to connect it some way, somehow. It's either going to be with the multiverse or what they're going to try to do. Yeah, that's interesting. I got to see that. Well, besides that, I mean, everything else was like insane. It was like so many fucking layers. You had like the Magneto part that you're dealing with. Then all of a sudden you're dealing with the Gambit part. Yo, it was like, God damn. Like this is the episode where it's like, you know, when you're talking about like cliffhangers, I'm like, fuck. Now it makes me really like, what the fuck is next? And then apparently it's supposed to get more crazy after this. Like, oh yeah, it's not even there. I think they're like holding off to like even more crazy shit, and we have like what, 5 episodes left, apparently. And it's like, this is episode 5. You have 5 left. So I'm like, how the fuck are you gonna top this? Like, what are you gonna do that's top? It's pretty wild.
I'm very, very much pleased. This was the best episode yet. It just added so much, added a lot to so many different characters and highlighted so many different things. Like, you got the whole Summer saga that's going on with the Madeline Pryor, Scott Summers, Jean Grey. You got Nathan Summers, aka Cable. We don't know who else is going to be in Jump Up, Rachel Summers or Havoc. We don't know if any of them are going to pop up. Of Corsair, who started all the drama of the Summers family. We don't know if he's going to show up. But the Cable integration of this makes me believe that we're going to get some type of time travel episode where Cable's going to try again to stop this.
It gives me those kind of vibes. Like, I don't think they're gonna leave it like this. I think something is gonna happen that eventually, if Gambit is actually really dead, then they're gonna find a way to like, all right, he's not really dead. All right, cool. And then also I wanted to add to Wendy's thoughts. She wanted me to get her thoughts out here, so I wrote it down just in case if I forget. She said in the last scene, her thoughts were, "What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?"
I mean, that was a lot of our thoughts on that one. Because Gambit, yo, I never knew Gambit was supercharged like that though. Like they showed us the what his real powers could possess. Like
Oh,
usually
just-
it's cards, it's a
Yeah, just give me a
can.
second. Get my charger. Give me a
No
second.
worries. Sometimes it's a cards, it's a can, it's a stick, but damn, they are just taking too much, and then they showed us too much, and then they took it all away. They took it all away. Power Driver Finisher says, so is Magneto dead too? I never thought Magneto was dead because we don't see the dead Magneto. We saw a dead Gambit. We never saw a dead Magneto. Power Driver Finisher, you did let me know. You've been watching Power. First rule of Power. If you don't see the body, that nigga ain't dead. You know what Unique said? That's what Unique said. If you don't see the body, he ain't dead. And you should know Unique is right because Unique was a body we didn't see. And then he showed back up. So I think that Magneto has always had periods where he seemed dead and then he came back more powerful and more evil. And I think that this is going to be the transition to Magneto being like, there is no help for mankind. And he's going to be on demon time when he comes back.
Yeah, he did my laptop, so got it just in time. It said it went from like 23% to 1%. I'm like, oh shit.
Jesus. But yeah, did you think Magneto was dead?
I don't think he is because he never showed anything. Even like after the blast happens, you don't see anything. You just see Rogue going after the Sentinels, but then you don't see nothing then. And then towards like the last final scene, you don't see anything then. But then also, I don't think they will kill him off that soon when you just have this big other scene. But that's just me. Maybe they wanted to like just put a bunch of layers of shit. But I don't think he's dead.
I think that Magneto comes back and he's evil and he has no good. He's gonna be attacking the humans, and this is what's gonna bring Professor X back from space.
It'll be interesting.
I think that's where we're going with this as far as what I think is going to be next. And I definitely think that we're getting a time travel episode where Cable and probably Bishop as well, because Bishop's exit was nondescript. We need him to come back and do some stuff. So yeah, he can come back and try to fix what happened here at Genosha.
That'd be great. Some great stuff.
Absolutely. But we shall see what's going to happen on episode 6 coming this week, which is going to be Life Death Part 2, which is going to be the follow-up from the second part of episode 4. But let's put our thumbs in the middle for episode 5. Remember it. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle in 3, 2, 1. Big thumbs up from all of us here. And I am going to do it. Finally, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. No notes. Josh.
Same thing. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. No notes. This was an emotional roller coaster in the best way possible, even though I cried. MVP, Gambit.
Gambit. There's no debate on that. I think it's Gambit.
It's Gambit for me. LVP of the episode,
It's not.
Genosha.
Oh. I'll go with that too.
Just saying. I mean, when we be real, it's Genosha. It's Genosha, y'all. It's Genosha. Or Cyclops, because he wanted to have his cake and eat it too.
Oh yeah, he just looked bad in the episode. He just looked like I don't know. He was all one in that episode.
Yeah, he was. So he's co-LVP with Genosha. But that is all for our review of episode 4 and 5 of X-Men 97. We will hopefully be back next Sunday. I don't know yet. We got TNA TNA Rebellion next Saturday. You got AEW Dynasty next Sunday. So it might be a wrestling week. So we might have to combine episode 4 and 7. I mean, episode 6 and 7 together like we did 4 and 5. We shall let you know. But Josh, let everybody know where they can find you.
Find me JM Punk 321 Twitter and Instagram. And then I'll be on Wednesday for Elite Heat on the Jubilee Heat Wrestling channel. I'll be on for that for the Dynamite Watch Along Go Home show for Dynasty.
Awesome. You can find me at True Hill SP3. You can follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at True Hill Heat. Patreon.com/True Hill Heat. Get your exclusive content, the True Hill Heat Prediction Championship. And we're going to start having some entertainment content for you to enjoy over there as well. And go over to the wrestling channel where you can check out me and Josh on True Hill Heat 271, breaking down an huge jam-packed week with WrestleMania 40, as well as AEW airing the CM Punk Jack Perry all-in footage. We talked about it all. Tama Tonga debut on SmackDown. Jon Moxley winning the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. There was no shot of that show being 2 hours because there was too much going on. And check out our...
I want to say, like, a lot of you CM Punk fans are weird as fuck. I'm just gonna say that you're weird as fuck. A lot of them, a lot of y'all. And I'm a CM Punk fan, but Jesus Christ, like some of y'all are just so delusional. But I'll probably leave that for next weekend.
We shall see y'all then. But for me, for Josh, for Prince, for Ness, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. Also, go over and check out our NJPW Windy City Riot review with me and Jay News from earlier today over on the wrestling channel as well. But this has been our X-Men 97 episode 4 and 5 review. We are signing off until next time.